The ultimate question, the WRX or the STI, which is right for you? In this video, we're gonna take a deep dive on comparing the WRX and the STI and which makes more sense for you as a driver. Because I think a lot of people think the STI is faster, it's more of a sports car, I need to buy an STI. For the most part, to some extent, you are correct. But unless you're gonna spend, let's say, $8,000 to $20,000 on an engine build, a VB WRX is going to be faster. In terms of dollars per horsepower, clear winner, like not even close. In terms of track capability off the box, if you were to go stock to stock, still gonna be faster in a straight line, definitely gonna be slower moving around the track, and braking is not gonna be as good. So there are some trade-offs, but we're gonna take a deep dive into both those things. So whether or not you own a WRX or an STI right now, you're considering buying a Subaru, this will give you a good guide of whether or not you need to change, which car you need to buy, and whether or not you're in the right car for the things that you do with your car. If you followed my channel for a long time, you'll actually know that I've owned 4 WRXs now. 4 WRXs? I've owned 4 WRXs now. And there is a reason I haven't yet owned an STI. It's in the works, but it's not happened yet. And there's a clear reason, because the way that I use these cars, it makes more sense to drive a WRX. But let's start with the clear differences between the two cars and where they succeed. The WRX is going to be a clear winner in terms of somebody that needs to focus on somewhat of daily driving capability. It is also the clear winner for somebody that wants to spend less to have the most amount of fun of the cars. Whether you're in a VA generation or a VB generation, I'm strictly talking from 2015 to 2025, the WRX fits both those molds. If you're somebody where the majority of your driving and the majority of where you are going to be using this car is track events, racing, really going for it, the STI might be something to consider because you're going to get more out of it out of the box. But you should also consider that if you want to have the same power through those turns and stuff, you're going to have to spend more to get there. So it's a little bit of a pay to play. Let's keep talking about the WRX for just a second. What makes the WRX so special? I've been able to take, and you can basically take a VB WRX, specifically a VA WRX, you can take it to like 330 horsepower for like 2 or 3 grand, maybe 3 grand. A VB WRX, you can get up to like 360 to 380 for 3 grand with it, which is nothing short than remarkable to be running that amount of power to the wheels. The weak point is the transmission, but you can't make that amount of power on an STI without going, at the very least, a bigger turbo. Now, I understand power isn't everything, but if you've driven a WRX or an STI, you realize that stock power is just not enough to enjoy these cars. I would actually go as far as saying if you've only driven a stock WRX or an STI, you don't even know what it's like to drive a WRX or STI, because you can literally make 50% more power to the wheels, which is a remarkable difference when you're talking about probably a 5.8 second car to a 4.1 second 0 to 60 car. Vastly different car. So from a power perspective, if you want to spend less than 4 grand, less than 5 grand in your ownership, and you want to make the most power for that amount of money, the WRX, clear winner. It's always going to be faster at under 4 grand, let's say, under 4 or 5 grand of spend. If you want to spend more than 5 grand, let's say you want to spend more than 10 grand, let's say in the lifetime of the car, modifying the engine, the STI is going to hold power and be more successful with higher loads of power if you put the time into it. There are a lot of mechanical reasons for this being true. The EJ is just slightly different in its approach to making power, holding power, and generating power through the drivetrain than the FA20 engine or FA24 engine. So they're just slightly different. Now talking about what makes the STI special, and then we'll kind of loop together which is right for you. The STI comes right out of the box with a lot of things that make the, let's say, the 3% enjoyment. I like to call it the 3 or 4% rule, where, you know, you get to use the car at its max facilities for 3 or 4% of your time of your ownership. The STI comes out of the box with everything that you could really want. There's very little that you need to do with an STI to make the transmission fun, the weighting, the differential and power, all those things come out of the box with the STI, and it's just superior. You need to spend, to give you perspective, just to catch up to maybe where the STI is, out of the box, you probably need to spend $3,000 or $4,000 on the WRX at the minimum. And then if you consider what the STI has in terms of transmission and its like differential setup, you're probably looking at closer to maybe like 10 grand on the STI if you want to match it. How important are those things? If you're not running massive STI power, it's a little bit less clear, but again, you can make a lot of power on the WRX, put an STI transmission to it, make it a lot of power. But the STI gets that all out of the box in an OEM fashion, and there's something just raw and nice about that. Paired with what could be had from the EJ EJ, it's quite a nice nostalgic car. The STI also comes with, I will say it, probably a more robust aftermarket community when it comes to working on the EJ. It may need more work over the lifetime of the EJ engine, but more people have done the work, so the parts are more available, the how-tos are more available, and there's more people that are experts in it than the FA. That's coming to change, but also probably not to some extent, because the EJ does need so much work to maintain over the lifespan of the car, versus the FA doesn't really need that, or we haven't seen it needing that much work. And generally when the FA fails, you just have to put a new one in. You can't really rebuild them. Same kind of goes with the EJ, but they're more rebuildable because the parts are available, because you rebuild them so often. So this begs the question, which car is for you? It's not as cut and dry. My general rule of thumb is I look at it as dollars and what you want to do. So if you plan on doing heavy track use, high performance track use, so like we're talking like this is something that you do more than 3 or 4 times a year. This is like a 10, 20 times a year you're tracking your car. The STI is a no-brainer because you're already investing in a lot in that motorsport. Beyond that, if you're very nostalgic about Subarus and you're nostalgic about what the STI means, the STI might be a lot of fun. So that is also very much a reason to buy the STI. It's just a damn cool car. But here's my rule of thumb around money, because this is really important. I look at it as, what are you willing to spend after buying the car? The STI is going to cost more to maintain. It's going to cost more to modify. It's going to cost more to get more out of it. And it's going to cost more to achieve just what the base is here. And then it's going to cost more to kind of break through that. But once you break through that, you can make a lot. i.e., to make 600-700 horsepower or even 500 plus wheel horsepower in STI, you're probably looking at 15 grand at the minimum if you do a lot of the work yourself. It just is what it is. But here's the thing with the WRX. If you want a car where at max you spend, let's say, $0 to $6,000, and that's all you want to do, the WRX is for sure for you. As it sits right now, I mean, I'm at like 350, 360 wheel horsepower, 360 torque. I've got wheels, front lip, badging, mirror caps, duckbill, roof spoiler, vortex generator, exhaust, intake, cob access port, I'm sure interior stuff. I'm sure I'm forgetting some stuff. And I think that I've spent like $3,000. No, not even that. Maybe $3,000 because I did put kind of nice-ish tires on the wheels. I'm probably closer to like 2,400. Well, let me think about this. Maybe with the tune, I'm closer actually just to like $2,000 because I bought some stuff used. I'm probably like $2,500. That's a lot. That's way more than the STI will make. You know, you're gonna have to put 6 grand into the STI to make that amount of power. But I don't have anything with the suspension, so it's definitely not as fun to drive as the STI. So that's the way to look at it. If you're buying this car and you're not like, okay, in the next 5 years of ownership, I'm totally okay dropping 10, 12 grand to make it what I want it to, the STI might not be for you. Minus the folks that like the nostalgia, the out of the box, the rawness. If those things are things that you value, the STI for sure is the car for you. It's gonna hold value really well. The WRX will hold value, but you'll get out of it. But if you're thinking about modifying in your long-term ownership, if you care about the money that it costs to own, the WRX is definitely the answer. If you're willing to spend money to have a good time, the STI is probably a good option. What I'm gonna leave you in the last part of this video is what's most important here is that you drive both. I know it's hard to drive them, they're less available. Go to car meets, people will let you drive them. If not drive them, they will let you ride along in the seat. I 100% think this is the thing that you should do. It is so easy to go to an event, see a cool WRX and say, yo, can you take me for a drive? I'd take someone for a drive if they're thinking about a car. It's so easy to do. If you want to sweeten the deal and you're having a hard time, be like, I'll help you fill up your tank. You know, that small amount of research might help you not regret a decision, because the amount of people that buy a WRX and then they're like, shoot, I should have bought an STI. A year later, they get an STI. They've lost thousands of dollars in sales tax, titling, all that kind of stuff in between. Or vice versa, they go buy an STI and maybe they didn't know as much about them. They have to do something with the engine because it needs it, which is not that uncommon. It's just part of the ownership. Or vice versa, they go and they do a kind of like full bolt-on minus the turbo. They get a tune and they're like, I only made 340 wheel horsepower. What's going on? And there are FA20 WRXs making that much. And then there are VB WRXs crushing them on lines, and they're like, oh, I actually don't want to spend more money. I don't want to do a big turbo. I don't want to do an IAG block. I don't want to do XYZ. I should have bought a VB. I see both ends of the spectrum. So my recommendation is, after everything you've just heard, go out and experience both, ask owners, go to these meetups. People love to talk about their cars. You'll get all the information. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.